some games in gaming that have just been ported or re-released on pretty much every platform out there. I mean, you got games like Tetris, Doom, Resident Evil 4, Sonic 1, and Street Fighter 2, just to name a few, that have been pretty much released everywhere. However, in terms of games with some of the most re-releases ever, I think the original Super Mario trilogy is up there as some of the most re-released games of all time. But what if some deranged person located every version of these games and tried to beat all of them in one single video? Why are you looking at me like that? No, why are you looking at me like that? Okay, yeah, you read the title. I'm gonna be beating every version of Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3. Why? I don't know. I've probably gone mad. Anyways, I want to lay down some ground rules before I take you through this hell. First of all, the Mario 2 I will be playing in this video is the American version of the game, otherwise known in Japan as Doki Doki Panic or Super Mario USA, rather than the Japanese original version, known in the West as Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels or Super Mario Bros. For Super Players. Jesus, that was a mouthful. Now, you may be asking, why am I not playing the Lost Levels? Because I suck at it. Second of all, I will not be counting any versions that I cannot access. Meaning, Mario 35 and the Play Choice 10 version. Since one servers have been permanently shut down forever, and the other, I can't get emulated and I can't find a Play Choice 10 in my area. I will also not be counting multi-carts like Mario Duck Hunt. Next, I also don't want to count games where they are playable, but are impossible to beat due to a time limit, such as the Masterpieces mode in Super Smash Bros. Brawl and Smash for Wii U, and Amiibo Tab, Nintendo's Greatest Bits. Since, unless if I gain superhuman abilities, there is no way I'm going to be able to beat Super Mario Bros. In 1 minute or 3 minutes. And finally, I will be using Warp Zones. Starting off, we have Super Mario Bros. On the NES. I mean, everybody's probably played or seen this game at least once. It's the same basic thing. You get as fast as you can through 1-1, 1-2, go to the Warp Zone in 1-2, go through 4-1, run through 4-2 until you get to this kind of tricky jump, and then you do the tricky jump and you make it to the Warp Zone, then go through 8-1, 8-2, 8-3, 8-4, and you defeat Bowser. I mean, everybody's played Mario 1. It's Super Mario Brothers. So yeah, one version down, a million more to go. But then we have the Famicom Disk System version. Ooh, scary. What's the difference? It's the same game. There's no differences, other than that due to this being a straight port to a new format, the Famicom Disk System version of this game has a completely different Minus World glitch than the NES and Famicom version. But then we have Versus Super Mario Bros. Released in arcades in 1986. Again, it's still Super Mario Bros., but it actually has a lot of differences. Like, it's got some new and changed around levels, which, you know, are mostly just swapping level numbers or ripping levels from Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, to make it harder so that it can eat up the player's quarters. After all, this is an arcade game. I mean, the Mario Wiki has a full list of level changes that we can look at. I mean, all that we really need to know for this video is that 1-2 has some bricks removed to make the Minus World glitch harder to do, the warp pipes to World 7 and 8 and 4-2 have been removed, meaning you have to play through all of 6 and 7 before you can make it to World 8, and there's bricks above Bowser's Bridge. Other than that, it's pretty much the same game, other than that lives are harder to come by because, again, it's an arcade game. You gotta eat up them quarters. Alright, so next up we have All Night Nippon Super Mario Bros. Which, here's a bit of context. All Night Nippon is a Japanese radio program that's been running since 1967, broadcasted by the Fuji TV company. Now, they had a pretty storied history with Nintendo in the 80s, where they held a contest where fans could submit their own fan-made lyrics to the Super Mario theme. And eventually, some of these lyrics got accepted, recorded, and released as an official single called Go Go Mario, which I think is an interesting little bit of not only Nintendo, but also music trivia. Anyways, for the 20th anniversary of All Night Nippon, Nintendo released an edited version of Super Mario Bros. For the Famicom Disk System that replaces enemies and other sprites with personalities from the All Night Nippon radio show. Like the Goombas and Piranha Plants are meant to be this guy, DJ Sunplaza Nakano, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, the Friday night host of All Night Nippon at the time. And the rest of the cast appear in the spots the 7 Toads would be in the castles. But there are some other changes besides whatever the hell this is. Like, a lot of the graphics are replaced with their equivalents from Super Mario Bros. The Lost levels, like the sky, the ground, and the mushrooms. Also, a lot of the levels take place at night now. Cause it's a nightly radio, cause it's a nightly radio show, get it? And also some of the levels are taken from the Lost levels. The only one we care about is 8-4, which is completely different. Also, the 2-player mode has been scrapped in favor for the Mario or Luigi game, just like the Lost levels. And it also has edited versions of Lost Level Special Worlds, A, B, C, and D. Also, the enhanced Famicom Disk System ending theme is here, which is just like the ending theme from Super Mario Bros., except it's longer, and it has an FM synthesis horn, because the disc system had an extra sound channel. Now, keep Fuji TV in your mind as we move on to the next game. Is it another version of Super Mario Bros.? Nope. Because it's Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic. I'm sure everyone and their mother knows this story, but the Western Mario 2 is this game, and the Japanese Mario 2 is the Lost levels that's in Mario All-Stars. Every gaming YouTuber has said this fact for the past 15 years.
Hold up, ain't you Nathaniel B?
I feel like I don't need to explain this anymore. Anyways, it's pretty much like Mario 2, except there's differences. Because it's a different game. It's 4 new characters here. Imagine, Mama, Papa, and Lena. Imagine is basically all around, and he got turned into Mario. Mama has higher jumps, which got turned into Luigi. Lena can briefly hover in the air after jumping, which eventually became Princess Peach's move. And Papa is strong and can run fast, but has a shitty jump, just like Toad. There are also a lot of other differences, like the mushrooms originally being hearts, the 1-up mushrooms were originally heads of the characters being controlled, the mask gates were originally generic masks instead of hawk masks, Phantos had a less menacing appearance. Also, the characters can't run, which really feels strange. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh yeah! Racism! So yeah, the Koopa shell item in Mario 2 that you can find in the ground sometimes, it was originally this thing, known as the Big Face. I have no words. Now there's a lot more differences in this game that you could probably find in other videos online or just looking at the Mario wiki, so I'll skip over a lot of them. But the same general path is basically the exact same as it is in Mario 2 and every other subsequent version of Mario 2. 1-1, 1-2, take the Warp Zone in 1-3, 4-1, take the Warp Zone in 4-2, 6-1, 6-2, 6-3, 7-1, 7-2. You know, the basic Mario 2 setup. Oh yeah, another interesting thing about Doki Doki Panic is that the music is somewhat different. Weirdly enough, the Doki Doki Panic theme doesn't have that one section in the Mario 2 theme that's like... It's completely missing that section. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's Mario 2. And since we were going over the comparisons between Doki Doki Panic and Mario 2, I guess now we don't have to talk about Mario 2. So yeah, we just killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Anyways, on to the one, the only.
Super Mario Brothers 3!
Super Mario Bros. 3 was released in October of 1988, a full 2 years before the game would release in the States. So why the long wait? Well, because they had to change things in the US release. Now, am I gonna talk about these differences? No! Just go watch She Says' video on it, because it does a better job explaining a lot of them than I ever could. But there's version differences. Anyways, they're the exact same. You go through all of World 1 and make sure to collect all the warp whistles, and then use one of them in World 2 to warp you to World 7, and then use one of them in World 7 to warp you to World 8, and then go through all of World 8 and beat Bowser again. Now, you'd think I'd be sick and tired of playing Mario by this point. And you're absolutely right, but I had to keep soldiering on, because next up is Super Mario All-Stars. That's right, the Super Nintendo remake of all 4 Mario games. What's the difference between these and the originals? Well, because they're on a new platform, they look better and have completely new graphics. I mean, it's the same basic Mario format. And hey, those games in Super Mario All-Stars were all eventually re-released individually as part of the Super Famicom Satellaview service. A thing that a lot of people also know about, but the Satellaview was basically this thing that let you, like, satellite broadcast exclusive games to your Super Famicom, and you could also listen to the radio. So yeah, these are just the All-Stars versions, except they're broken up into individual games. And because they're broadcasted, we now have certain options of letting the characters actually speak to us in a sort of radio program-esque way. So yeah, Mario 1, 2, and 3, but with voice acting in random places and commentary. Quick side note here. So, in the one video that I could find of an actual broadcast recording of BS Super Mario USA, for whatever reason, the broadcast started off with the theme for Star Trek The Next Generation, which is the single most random thing. Anyways, back to the video. Anyways, what's next? Ah yes! Super Mario Bros. Deluxe for the Game Boy Color. Now this one's actually pretty interesting. It's Super Mario Bros., except it's crushed, because the Game Boy doesn't have as many pixels as the NES, so you have to crush them all down into a fine powder. And it's enhanced. It's got a world map screen whenever you boot into a level. It's got new graphics of some sorts, and new modes, like You vs. Boo. It even has support for the Game Boy printer. Yes, the Game Boy printer. A thing that exists. It's also how I print all my important legal documents. But after Mario Deluxe came out, there was an entirely new sub-series of Mario re-releases on the Game Boy Advance. This was the Super Mario Advance series, which were spiritual successors, sequels to Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. So with Super Mario Advance, it reuses a lot of the assets from the Super Mario All-Stars version of Mario 2, except some of the colors are tweaked because, well, the GBA is a 32-bit system and also has a different color palette than the Super Nintendo. You can also play the original arcade Mario Brothers, but remade. Anyway, there's voice acting now! You heard me right, voice acting in Mario 2. With those unbelievably crusty GBA audio samples. Now, Mario 3 on GBA is actually pretty interesting. Because, well, they added some new content in the form of DLC. Not exactly. Basically, there was this peripheral called the e-reader for the Game Boy Advance, where you could scan these little barcode cards, and eventually you could unlock either new content in games, or even little bite-sized NES games. Which, it's a cool concept, but it was way ahead of its time. And eventually it became a flop. But one thing Mario 3 on GBA had was that it had exclusive levels developed for it that required e-reader cards in order to access. And a lot of these levels are actually really fun. Like, there's remakes of a lot of classic Super Mario Bros. Levels, but then you have completely new levels that rip gimmicks from not only Mario 3, but also Mario 2, Mario 1, and Mario World. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, good on you, Nintendo. Let's see what next Mario version you have for Classic NES Super Mario Bros. What is this? So I don't know if this is like running on an emulator or if it's a weird conversion of Super Mario Brothers. But they tried to fit the whole screen size of the NES onto the GBA screen. But the thing is, the screen of the NES is slightly taller than the screen of the GBA. So instead of having black bars on the side, or, you know, actually making new graphics that support this, they took the easy way out and just removed a couple of the lines from the screen. So now Mario looks like this!
What the fuck is that?
Luckily, we get to play these games the way they were intended again, as actual NES ROMs on the Wii! Super Mario 1, 2, and 3 on the Wii Virtual Console. They're just the NES ROMs, but they're running in the Wii Virtual Console's emulator, which, weirdly enough, makes a lot of games look darker than they are, so that's why they look this way. Same old, beat Bowser, do the thing. Let's talk about this piece of shit! So yeah, Mario's 25th anniversary was in 2010, and how did Nintendo celebrate this? Maybe a new Mario game? Maybe a collection of Mario games remade? Kinda. This is probably the most embarrassing Wii game I own. Super Mario All-Stars for the Wii. Now keep in mind, this was a special edition premium product when it launched, because it came with an art book and a soundtrack CD, so they really wanted you to buy them. Maybe they've remade all 4 of these games in a new engine, with better graphics, or just think of the possibilities. No, you're fucking wrong. This is the Super Nintendo ROM of Super Mario All-Stars. Not even Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World, but just Super Mario All-Stars, plopped onto a Wii disc, with the same emulator that the Virtual Console uses, except you don't need a classic controller, and released for $60. Now, you might be saying, but maybe the art book and CD are why it costs so much. I mean, just look at how these are. Well, luckily, I have them. I bought this game when it came out, so let's check them out! It's a little fucking instruction booklet with little bits of Mario renders and stuff placed all over it, and the occasional piece of concept art, or interview. But no, nothing to write home about. Well, maybe that soundtrack CD is something. One music track from every Mario game. One music track from every Mario game, and the rest of it is nothing but Mario 1 sound effects. Well, luckily, also with Mario's 25th anniversary, came this, the Japanese Red Wii, that came exclusively with a pre-installed copy of Super Mario Bros. On it. Now, what makes this different than every other version of Super Mario Bros.? Well, simple. There's 25s on the question blocks now. That's it. At least it came free with the Wii, and the Wii looks nice. Well, anyways, Mario 1, 2, and 3 eventually got put on the 3DS Virtual Console, which this is most definitely the best way to play these games portably at the time, because, well, it was the NES ROMs on the go. Also, second side note here, I forgot to mention this, but Super Mario Bros. Deluxe also came out on the 3DS Virtual Console. And I somehow forgot to mention it in this video, so I'm just saying, it exists. And eventually they got added to the Wii U Virtual Console in 2013. Except for Mario 3, which came out in 2014. Anyway, inside of NES Remix 2, there exists a version of Super Mario Bros. Called Super Luigi Bros. What makes it different from Super Mario Bros.? The game's mirrored. Instead of going from right to left, you go from left to right. It's not even they flip the screen, no, the levels themselves are mirrored because, like, the title screen looks right, and all the text isn't mirrored. So, there's actually effort in this. And the main player character is Luigi. And much like NES Remix 2, Ultimate NES Remix on 3DS includes Speed Mario Bros., which is just Super Mario Bros. With a different title screen, and the game runs at twice the speed. Game Boy Advance games came to the Wii U. Not the 3DS. Just the Wii U. So yeah, Super Mario Advance and Super Mario Advance 4 are on the Wii U. And Mario Advance 4 comes with all of the e-reader levels, which is a really cool decision because these would have ended up lost media if not Nintendo didn't preserve them. And then the NES Classic came out in 2016, and no one was able to find one. Thanks, scalpers. Anyway, Mario 1, 2, and 3 were on that, so beat Bowser, beat Wart, beat Bowser. You're fucking done. Please tell me we get something interesting after this. I'm fucking begging you, please. God damn it. On March 3rd, 2017, the Nintendo Switch released, and eventually, we got Super Mario Bros. On it. But not the Super Mario Bros. We all knew and loved. No, this was Versus Super Mario Bros. Again. You know, from the arcades. Except now it's finally been re-released on a Nintendo home console. As part of the Arcade Archive series, which is a series that releases arcade games on modern platforms. Which I actually think is pretty cool that it's finally been re-released on a new platform. Anyways, Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3 were eventually added to the Nintendo Switch Online platform. And then again, as part of Mario's 35th anniversary. But this time it was as part of Super Mario All-Stars. Also during this same celebration, the Super Mario Bros. Game & Watch was announced, which was a Game & Watch system that could play the actual Super Mario Bros. At the Lost levels, which, you know, is pretty cool. And then, just recently, all 4 Super Mario Advance games came to the Nintendo Switch Online platform, which includes Super Mario Advance and Super Mario Advance 4. And let me tell you, that moment when I finally beat Mario Advance 4, I felt freed. Finally, I've been broken from this curse. I'm free, but I still have to edit this video, so I'm not really free. So yeah, that's the tale of how I beat every single version of Super Mario 1, 2, and 3. So, you may be asking, after beating every single version of Super Mario 1, 2, and 3, how I would rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 for visuals, gameplay, and accuracy?